And welcome to the regular meeting, or actually special meeting, of the City of Morgantown Board of Zoning Appeals. Please turn off all cell phones or other devices that may disrupt these proceedings. It is the duty of this board to consider requests for relief from the requirements of the city's zoning regulations, to consider conditional use permit requests, and to hear administrative appeals. The board conducts business in the following order: review, amend, and approve minutes of a previous meeting. We'll then move on to unfinished business, conduct new business, and conclude with announcements from staff. Each request is heard in the order that it appears on the agenda. For each conditional use and variance request, the following is done. I will introduce the agenda item, and the Planning Division will present a staff report, which may or may not offer a recommendation. The applicant agent will be asked to present their justification for their request, which may include questions by members of the board. We will then open a public hearing to hear testimony in support of or in opposition to the request. Rules regarding public testimony are as follows. Anyone wishing to testify during the public hearing may do so once recognized by me, or may, in lieu of oral testimony, submit written testimony to the chair. All recognized speakers must approach the podium, state their name and address for the record, and speak clearly into the microphone. All comments must be addressed to the board, should be relevant to the application, and may not be of a personal nature or personal attacks. All speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. If members of the board have any questions of the speaker, that time will not be counted toward her 5 minutes. If there is a large number of speakers, including many who are part of groups or organizations, we may, to avoid repetitive comments, elect to ask for a representative to speak on behalf of the group or organization. Speakers are notified that irrelevant comments or comments of a personal nature or personal attacks may result in the speaker forfeiting her opportunity to participate in the public hearing. I may elect to recognize the applicant agent at the end of the public hearing to provide rebuttal or additional comments, which will be limited to an additional 5 minutes. If members of the board have any questions of the applicant agent, that time will not be counted toward her 5 minutes. After all testimony is heard, we will declare the public hearing closed, and no further public comment will be permitted. Uncivil, unruly, and/or disruptive behavior at any time during this meeting is prohibited and will result in removal from this public meeting. State law requires the board to consider findings of fact for each conditional use and variance request. The request cannot be granted unless a majority of the quorum present finds in the positive of all of the findings of fact. The board may elect to continue the hearing to another date if it needs additional information. Applicants and requesting parties will be notified in writing by the Planning Division of the board's findings and conclusions. Regardless of whether a request is approved or denied, decisions of this board can be appealed to the Circuit Court of Montague County within 30 days upon receipt of the written notification from planning. Any work done relating to decisions rendered by this board during this 30-day period is at the sole financial risk of the applicant. Thank you for your consideration and respect for these proceedings and the opinions of all meeting participants. Call the roll. Mr. Misfeld.
Here.
Mr. DeWitt.
Here.
Mr. Benison is here. We do have a quorum. Just state that for the record. We do have meeting minutes to consider from our regular meeting for October 23rd, 2024. Any comments or issues, additions, subtractions?
No, I reviewed them and it looked satisfactory to me.
See anything? Okay, so we don't really need a motion to accept.
I would ask to you, yeah.
Oh, really? We
You
do?
can vote or yes. please,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so we will take a motion. So I move that to accept the meeting minutes officially and formally from our regular meeting, October 23rd, 2024. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, how do we vote?
Aye.
So
Aye.
we have so duly accepted the meeting minutes from our last meeting on October 23rd, 2024. Moving on to, and I just want to state again for the record, we do have a quorum. The first agenda item is CON 24-171, Robin and Laramie Zimmerman, 2916 University Avenue, request by Mr. and Mrs. Zimmerman for conditional use approval for a restaurant fast food use at 2916 University Avenue as required by Section 1331.05 of the city's planning zoning code regarding permitted land uses, City Tax District 15, in the 7th Ward, Tax Map 11, Parcel 182, in the B1 Neighborhood Business District. Mr. Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move through here. Okay. So again, the applicant seeks to establish a new restaurant fast food use in the vacant building at 2916 University Avenue. And more specifically, the applicant desires to open a new franchise, Sugar Llamas, at the above-mentioned address. You can see the location here on the screen as well as in your packet. You will also note in your packet the zoning, and there's multiple zones along this area for a lot of different reasons, but where it's located is where the star is, and similar uses are located to the north, or I should say to the west and to the east of this particular location, including fast food, retail, restaurant, office uses are along this B1 and partially pro-zoned corridor. This is a picture of the establishment from University Avenue looking east. According to Sugar Llama's website, the establishment is a one-stop treat shop that provides coffee, mini donuts, and ice cream as a dessert bar. And based on the data group questions answered by the applicant, please note the following. The projected number of clients per day is approximately 80. The number of people that will be employed during the busiest shift will be 2. Projected hours of operation will be Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And the restaurant fast food use will not have a drive-through facility. In your packet, you can kind of see the layout. This building is 2 levels. The part that will be developed and actually host Sugar Llamas will be at the upper floor, and that's what the diagram in your packet shows. The applicant participated in a technical review meeting with the city on July 2nd, 2024, and city agencies that had purview over the proposed use and subsequent improvements had no major concerns or issues with the applicant's proposal. A copy of the tech review report was unfortunately not included in your packet, but it's at the dais now. But again, there were no major concerns or issues raised at that meeting. But the proposed use does require, because it's a restaurant fast food use, does require conditional approval from the Board of Zoning Appeals. And just in your packet, there's a number of references to, basically the proposed use and how it's permitted by the land use table. Also looking at the supplemental regulations that a fast food restaurant needs to comply with in the B1 district, which the applicant's proposal does. Looking at table 13650401, minimum off-street parking requirements, you can see the equation that's used to determine what's required for this type of establishment. Based on the numbers provided, the total estimated number of parking spaces is 9, and that was provided on or referenced in your packet in terms of where they would be located right now. The applicant does have plans to, on the left side of the building, where there used to be a building, but it was demolished, and now it's just a flat above grade, to actually work with the property owner to redo that in the future and to provide more parking. That would bring it even more in compliance with the city's zoning code. Obviously, that's a little down the road. They need to get in there and get established, but our team that reviewed it had no issues with the parking that was there. And then we can talk a little bit about, in staff's recommendations, what would, be needed to, get that moving forward. But that will conclude staff report. I will note that the Board of Zoning Appeals did approve a conditional use for a restaurant private club previously for that. They had more seating and also had more parking requirements, and granted that conditional use, as well as a conditional use for off-street parking, and using the shared parking behind Daniels to accommodate that. The applicant is not requesting that at this time, and again, we'll get into that with staff recommendations, but that will conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions at this time?
On page 4, there's below the table 1331, it states that where supplemental regulations 25 and 25 are not applicable. Is that a typo there, or is it supposed to be referencing a different supplemental reg besides the 25 twice, or am I reading this wrong?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that was a typo. So the supplemental that was shown was 22 because it is applicable. 25 and 27 are not applicable. So we'll note that in the staff report.
Good catch.
I guess I have maybe a general question. For the technical review, was there any input from like the traffic commission? I'm just looking at that location and knowing how busy university is, and thinking of people slowing down to go in that parking lot, or God forbid trying to turn left coming out of that parking lot. It was like I'm wondering if there's going to be like additional sign, like street signage or a no left turn.
So that will probably be looked at once the parking lot is fully redeveloped. But
Okay.
at this time, our city engineer did not have an issue with what was proposed, given that site was occupied and that building was used, and the aerials I showed you, there was parking there. So it's happening, but there are plans, and the applicant may be able to address that a little bit better in terms of what the long-term vision is for the property.
Okay.
More than Yamas.
What's that?
Ogawas.
Yeah.
That's more of a pinch.
And then I guess maybe this might be a better question for the applicant, but I know it's for 22C, franchise color schemes where materials are discouraged. I think at least it's listed as a franchise. I imagine the franchise agreement probably has contractual obligations with respect to signage and colors and everything else. Was there any representation on what they intend to have in terms of franchise signage and
So
color
we've had
schemes?
some preliminary discussions with the applicants who they might be using to do the signage. But that would probably be handled more under like
Separate case.
the sign itself
Yeah,
we don't know what that looks like yet.
right.
But in terms of what they're proposing, there's really no major improvements to the outside of the building that would, like, in like a fast food restaurant, color the building to a certain, at least to my knowledge, there's not, and the applicant can address that. The major improvements would be the inside of the facility, which is totally, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, since it's excuse me, since
Do you want me to answer a little bit?
Well, you'll be speaking in a minute, so I'll ask you then.
since it's a franchise, how many more are there existing, like in other states or places?
None in Morgantown, but the applicant would be aware because they're trying to bring this facility to Morgantown as well as to a few other places. I'll let them speak to that.
All right, so do we have a representative for this case?
That's be your.
My name is Laramie E. Zimmerman, co-owner with my wife Robin Zimmerman for the Sugar Llamas project. We do have preliminary drawings.
Sir, before you get going, can you just state your address?
It's
Reference address?
Our personal address.
Which, yes.
Oh, yeah, it's 2916 University Avenue is going to be the location of Sugar Llamas.
Okay.
We do have preliminary drawings from Alpha Engineering that we're paying for them to draw up. He sent me preliminary. It's not the final, that shows the future of the parking lot beside it, which the current landlord is paying to have redone.
Right.
He works closely with the city and the requirements that are needed for that. I can also pass it around if anybody wants to look at all that. That's kind of, it is small because it wouldn't enlarge any larger than what I could get it.
Right.
I did forward them to Megan so she could maybe.
But that's the old structure that was beside the building would be redone for the parking. And as far as signage, kind of see the Sugar Llamas inside the store. The sign is similar to that. And if you went back to the rock facade on the buildings, we're putting one on the front. It's like 2.5 feet. And then on the side, there would be another one that would be like 5 foot in diameter. They're both in diameter, circular signs.
Right.
Not neon, just illuminated where you could see it. And right now, we wasn't planning on putting anything at the road or anything like that, just like the two signs on the building, which What is it, Neons, what's the name of the
City
company?
Neon,
City
we've already
Neon.
got quotes from them, and they
Yeah.
said they would apply for those permits because they're familiar with what the requirements are.
Yeah, that's kind of like our emblem here. That's what the sign would look like.
Yeah, they have that in the packet.
The sign would just be an enlargement of that label.
And so this schematic with the upgrade, with the parking area upgrades, that doesn't include the additional,
That is the additional.
that is the additional?
It would be off to the side where the concrete slab is, where the old building used to be beside it.
So there's more parking in the front of it?
Yeah, the front of it would be parking, and then the way it's designed is that they would pull off of University Avenue. You would park at an angle, you pull out, you go out the back alley. They would never come out on the University Avenue.
Oh, okay, you pull, okay, I was,
One
that was
way.
yeah, my
Yeah.
concern from an engineer.
Yeah, you're never going to be pulling back. Once
Especially
you
if
pull
this is
off of
parking.
University Avenue, you would stay in that parking lot, you go out the back alley.
Turn around, but you can't turn
We,
around.
we're trying to make it to where it would be safer
Just
than
to pull
trying to
forward.
back
Does that
out.
drop off though at the end back there? How are they
Yeah, it's
break
going to
that?
all be redesigned.
Okay, all right.
They have to pull that whole concrete slab out,
There's a retaining
and
wall
the
back
parking
there.
would put in there in diagonal, and then they would go out the back and turn up the alley.
Okay, well that's was my concern. Thank you.
Yeah, we took that because University Avenue is pretty busy.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
And trying to back out of that area is kind of rough anyway.
Yeah.
But all that in the front would be redone. It's going to all be repaved, and it would all be streamlined.
Why are you not considering using the shared parking in the back with Daniels?
We got a couple spots in the back. We figured we'd use those for employees. It's
Okay.
behind the building. Just there's a couple, but there's also a trash receptacle we got to put in for dumpster. And it's going on the corner of the big building in the back.
Cool.
But it's off the alley. You can actually pull in to those parking spots. So now there's gravel lot up in the corner behind Daniels, and if we needed to use that, I'm sure we could probably get with whoever owns that
You
and do
mentioned,
a lease.
yeah, the leasing agreement in the
Yeah.
packet. What about food service delivery?
Yeah, the Grubhub, what we probably would do is designate a pickup lane right there in the front where Grubhub or DoorDash or one of those people could pull in, come in and get it.
Well, just in terms of delivery for your franchise, are you planning on coordinating with vendors so that
Yeah.
there isn't,
Yeah, absolutely.
a conflict?
Yeah, absolutely.
With your prime hours of operation?
Yeah, the deliveries probably should happen when we're closed. That's what I need to.
Early
address.
morning?
Yeah, early morning.
Late
before business,
evening.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see your concern with that.
Because it is very tight there.
Oh, it is, it is.
Where's the bus stop from there? Isn't that a bus
It's
stop right on that
downhill.
corner, or is that further down?
It's downhill. It's closer to the McDonald's.
Okay.
I don't know if I think there's a stop on both sides.
Yeah, there's one
For
right
outbound
on, I know there's one right where McDonald's is.
Yeah, you can see it on the screen here.
Yeah,
It's
McDonald's, I know.
that little green shelter
Okay,
at the
yeah.
intersection, yep.
Yeah, you got the, I don't know I always forget the name of that restaurant that's right across, right down over the hill from our.
Ogawa?
Yeah. I think he has like 3 parking spots
Yeah,
in front of the
the ones
building.
to back out of.
Yeah, and then is that Thai place still there?
Yes.
Thai Cry.
Yeah. Thai.
Yeah.
But they have off-street parking, and then people usually leave through the back, like he's saying, back alley.
And then what we figured we'd do, if need be, we can put a directional sign coming out of when they redesign it, we could put a directional sign in that alley where they go one direction up the alley to exit, so that we don't have traffic going both ways.
Yeah, I think
Right.
painting on the pavement might
Right,
even be like
right.
things of that sort. Yeah, but that's up to you guys.
Yeah, and Alpha Engineering, he's been working on this for over a month. They've done the survey and it's it's costing me like $5,000 to draw plans up, so.
Yeah.
So right now, the whole building wouldn't be used for the franchise?
Not that, downstairs is just gonna be storage.
Okay.
We originally were gonna use the downstairs, but because of the tightness of the parking, I wanted a place for the kids to kind of hang out, for studying and just doing that kind of stuff, but we'll cross that bridge later. Right now, the main thing is just to get the upstairs. It's more of a grab and go. Come in, order,
Right.
take it, and go. Me and her sat there and watched.
And the nature of your business maybe lends itself to grab and go, and there's vehicular traffic, but at the same, with the bus stops being right there, and where it is, with respect to Evansdale campus, there's a pedestrian component.
Yeah, we literally chose this spot because of the foot traffic.
The tower's right there.
Right.
We sat there and watched, and every 18 to 20 seconds, there's somebody walking by.
Through.
So that is the target that we're after.
So do you feel, I mean, if you have to expand your volume of, customer volume, do you feel that the building is enough? Like, if you have to make a decision accommodating people within the building versus having to allow for additional parking, does the building,
Yeah, the building
we
space.
just want to
Yeah.
get a feel for,
Yeah, we're at 3,000 square feet, and most Sugar Llamas are at like 1,700 square feet. Most of the franchises right now are in the middle of the country. When we bought our license to operate,
Right.
there were 17, and I think now we're close to 25 or 26 across the country. Somebody opened one in Cincinnati. I think, no, it's Connecticut. Connecticut, they bought the whole state of Connecticut. So it's expanding pretty rapidly. But the average store is literally like 1,700 square feet, I think.
well, just that single level is probably right at 1,700, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because, yeah, it's total square footage of that whole building, downstairs, upstairs, like 32.
Oh, it's that
Oh,
much.
okay.
I'm surprised it's that much. It's because the footprint from above, it's
Yeah,
not.
it doesn't look that big, but it's literally double because of the bottom. It's like split level. You come in the
Yeah.
door and go up or down. And it's got the elevator access, and it's in the middle of it, so.
Right.
If you increase the seating, would you intend on probably increasing or pushing the hours of operation later on to the night? Because I
Yes.
know there's certainly a lack of, like coffee or sit-down
Later.
places in the city where you
Yep.
can be past 4 o'clock. I mean, most of
Right.
these things close. One of them's right across the street from you.
Where-
That tea place, they're open. I think they're open late, right?
Through 8 p.m. maybe?
So if that's the case, would that require additional approvals, or would extending the hours of operation be within the conditional?
Extended hours would not be an issue, it's just that there'd be more seating, then we need to look at the parking again.
Yeah, because that would increase the demand on parking if people are going to be parked there and sitting and staying for hours as opposed to just in and out.
Right.
And really, truthfully, in the building, there's hardly any windows. I mean, there's literally a little bit of windows in the front of the building. Other than that, there is no outside view.
Right.
Yeah.
So, unless they're coming in there and having a meeting or talking, one-on-one, I just don't see them hanging around too long.
Yeah.
And then there's no minimum seating requirement we have to meet
No, sir.
for this classification of.
No, sir.
Yeah, and the donuts are made to order, so when you come in, it's like getting Krispy Kreme right there and then, so.
I mean, most of the concerns to me seem to be technical review related, not conditional use. I mean, this seems pretty.
Yeah, we.
Straightforward.
We've already discussed looking at that gravel parking lot and checking with them if we need additional parking as we feel the situation a little bit,
Okay.
if it happens to become an issue.
And then for the residential to the north, for the R3, is that, what are the characteristics? Can you, Mr. Yu, can you speak to just the R3?
So
The
that's
character of, like, density,
Generally,
types of,
that's the multifamily residential district, so that would look at everything from single-family to 3+ units. Obviously, I think, as Mr. DeWitt pointed out, that's where the towers are, and
Right.
that's why it's zoned that way.
I'll just restate, this has already been approved by another request at earlier time for use as a restaurant.
Yes.
Right, so it's, okay.
and I think the other case was, there were even more moving pieces.
Yes, sir.
to take
there
into
were.
consideration.
So did
Yes.
that fall through? Is that what happened?
No, it went.
It did?
No, it was approved, it's just it didn't pan out with the potential tenant.
That's what I mean.
Yep.
It fell, so
Yep.
it fell through after us.
The board approved the request.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is more straightforward, but
Yeah.
again, I mean. the
Yeah, so what's
parking-
actually, is like the only thing being made actually on site, the donuts and coffee? Is everything else like
Yeah,
packaged?
Ice creams.
And ice
we
cream
order
service.
it, it's in bins.
Okay, right.
There's no food per se other than the donut.
Yeah.
And it's a self-contained machine that makes that, so. And then the coffees, we've got all the different types of coffees. We even have coffee with Red Bull, if you can even imagine that. It's gonna go pretty heavy with kids, I'm sure.
Some late night, too.
Yeah. She put 6 to 6 on there, and me and hers kind of went around over. I'm pretty sure we're gonna be open later than that. The donuts are phenomenal. I was not on board with this until she actually took me to one of them, and they're mind-blowing.
All right.
If additional
You should have
seat-
brought a stack of them with you.
I wish I could.
Yeah,
I ain't got the equipment to do it yet.
Next time.
Nearest one's Connecticut, so it
Yeah.
would have been cold by the time we got back here.
Right.
If you add additional seating and capacity, are they gonna, would they have to add more bathroom facilities?
I don't know if we
Yes.
really
Yeah,
talked about that.
because it was in the original plans for two bathrooms.
Yeah,
On the
I
lower
would,
level, for example.
I would have to bring in the contractor to put in a bathroom downstairs.
So you're just
Right,
using a
right
single
now.
bathroom upstairs,
Yeah.
multi-use?
With respect to the parking, is there an ADA requirement for one?
Yes,
For-
that will be addressed, yep.
And signage?
Yep.
Yeah, we have an elevator. It
Right.
works for both.
Well, I just mean in terms of, like, parking, and at least one ADA spot having to be larger, and you've got
Yeah.
a
I'll put it
limited
right in the front of the
area.
building.
That's what I was
I'll either put it
kind
in
of
front-
angling at with
I
that,
either put it in front of the building or the first new spot that they build.
right?
Make it the most convenient.
And that'll go through site plan review as well
And
with
it-
our team.
Right, and then in terms of the pass-through for the alleyway, egress for vehicular traffic, there's no, that will be in compliance with ADA, there's no conflict in terms of vehicular traffic and being able to accommodate ADA,
I'd
at least
want
one.
Not to my knowledge, but I'd want somebody to take a look at that on our team. But again, I mean, that site plan is still a little ways away.
Right. I guess in terms of the parking for me,
That was my
he-
first concern.
he can only, I mean, because of the footprint of the business, he can only expand only so much.
Yeah.
And then, in terms of having to plan for additional parking, there's an upper limit to that.
Yeah, but how do all, oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
How do all the other Sugar Llamas compare in terms of number of seats, number of parking?
Really, truthfully, we actually have more actual places to sit than most of them do.
Okay. well,
In that
that's-
first floor
well,
right
I
there.
Probably.
Most people don't have the extra space like what we were talking about. It was kind of a bonus when we looked at the building until we got into the parking situation.
Right.
So we just stuck with that up top. I mean, that's basically your average layout of most Sugar Llamas.
Yeah.
And so, on a given day, you're looking at 80 patrons.
That's what.
Or so.
I think she was very
We don't know.
conservative.
This is
We
the-
really don't know.
Is that the
That's why-
franchise expectation?
Yes, but this is the first one in a college town.
Yeah, there's never been one
That
put.
changes everything, and it's all guesswork. until-
Yeah.
Right.
They've never had one in a college town yet.
Right.
So you might have to come up with some alternatives, like grab and go bag, like you think you said, you mentioned
Yeah,
grab and go
we're
bag type
we're a big
things.
partner with Grubhub, with all the franchises are Grubhub and DoorDash and all that
Gotcha.
stuff, so. And my,
We turned in our business plan, we tried to account for football season, basketball season, times when the school's out, and we thought, well, maybe it'll balance out with those seasonal, but
Right.
it's weird, we just don't know.
yeah,
Well, and then in terms of DoorDash service and working that into your business plan, do you see points of conflict with just regular patron traffic?
No,
And, like DoorDash vehicles accessing and,
I think as
for
long as-
pickup and then leaving?
I think as long as, I mean, it's the way, the machine puts out like 4,000 donuts in like an hour. So I think it's pretty quick. I mean, they come in, if we get a phone call, the timing for us will be just trying to learn the timing to have it ready so it's fresh.
Do other sugar llamas have a drive-through?
Yes, some
I
of them,
think-
some of them do, some of them don't.
Just other business models that I've seen that are like this and that want that quick flow through, need some sort of walk-through or drive-through ability, or else you're just subject to the time it takes to pull in, park, go, and so you're gonna limit.
Yeah,
your
the
ability to-
downside to that is just the way this building's designed.
Yeah.
With it being split level, there's no way I can do drive-through. I'd have to redesign the whole inside.
But
of
more
the
like, I
building.
don't know if there's like your business
You would
manager.
literally lose half of the square footage, and I don't think the landlord would let me do it.
Well, I've seen.
Like a
other-
window counter would probably be really good there.
Yes, that's kind of what.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much student traffic there, and then you have like the dorms or whatever back
Yes.
there.
I mean, we're gonna have a point of sale area, of course, but, and then the whole objective to this is you get to see your donut being made. It's open. It's an open concept. You order it, you have your flavors. They pick what flavor they want. They see it get made, you put the drizzles on it, and it's done.
So there's a company out in Utah where somebody's outside with an iPad taking people's orders coming up so they can just
Yeah,
walk
right.
in and out. So, there's some of that too that speeds up that.
Right.
There's a
Yes,
small,
sir.
I mean, the thing half the size of that building is a yogurt shop, and they've just got people just like blocking the road essentially.
And-
But anyways, it
Yeah.
seems like you might have an operation that could
Yeah.
extend to that space, especially with students crossing and creating a congestion point.
We've even talked about too, is if it really blossoms hard, then we may have to look at opening up another location, somewhere else in Morgantown.
That'd be cool.
Just to kind of offset the flow a little bit.
I looked at the findings of fact, all look straightforward and
I know that
Appropriately
parking lot drawing
responsive.
is really tiny. Like I said, it's preliminary drawing. But the whole objective to that was to guide the flow of the traffic off of University. And I really don't want people backing out onto that street, because it's just us going over there and doing what we're doing. It's difficult to get out back onto that street. So that's why I wanted it to go one direction once I
Right.
pull in.
I don't have anything else.
I don't either. Now, okay, so, well, actually, it's not really numbered, but I guess it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Finding of fact number 6 with only one bathroom. Do you want to retain that language?
I mean,
We
I'd
can
like-
at this point, but you mentioned the possibility of,
I mean, if things are going well and we have the opportunity to put that extra seating downstairs for them to have a place to hang out and study or whatever, I mean, it would be nice, and I have to revisit this or go through a bunch of stuff, but that would be up to what the city suggests.
Yeah, I don't think the build-out,
With-
sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, the build-out of the lower level in the future, from a building perspective, wouldn't be an issue. It would just be if there's additional seating, because then we'd have to look at the parking requirement again. And so if there was
Oh, right.
additional seating, we'd have to work with the applicant to find that if it couldn't be accommodated on the site, and that would mean they'd be coming back to the board for review and approval.
I'm just wondering if we maybe should
I think right now-
rephrase that to build a little more flexibility in it. Is that, from a legal standpoint and voting to approve the findings of fact?
I think where we stand right now, we have 11 spots. When they redo the parking lot, it'll be total 11
I think if we
spots.
expand that, we have to expand other parts.
I think of it more as just a description of what that space is, because it also talks about where the small kitchen area is going to be, Quain operation. It's more descriptive, just in terms of the space on page 36 of 82.
Right.
Is that the one you're looking at? I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering, like, practically speaking, that language in terms of granting the conditional use with regard to the function and use of the space, is that language overly constrictive in terms of just approving this specific finding of fact? I
I
don't know.
don't think so, sir.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, with the application as submitted, it's sufficient. I mean, the additional seating and more bathrooms, that's all future. I mean, none of that's certain.
Right.
It's
Little
literally,
glass castles.
And they would have to, I mean, they would have to readdress a technical review process at that time anyways.
Right.
more than likely, that would be the point where I'd have to look into that gravel parking lot and leasing, doing some kind of lease for additional parking.
So you're leasing the whole building though, right? Not,
Yeah, which is really cost me more money because I'm paying for square footage downstairs we're not gonna be able to use.
But you have storage, though. That'll be good for inventory if you're moving. If you're selling as much as you're hoping, then it would be nice to have a
Yeah.
little bit of inventory.
We're worried. I hope one donut machine will suffice. I hope it don't get to the point where I'm like, well, I mean, if I'm busy, I'm
Right.
busy. And you can do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
That'll be a bridge we'll
Are
cross
you-
if we gotta open the second one.
Are you permitted with your company model to pre-make some of these donuts and have bags that are already like, because part of the experience is to watch them being made, but can you have made them already? So that
Yeah,
you can,
a
okay.
lot of these places, like a lot of the other Sugar Llamas out in Oklahoma, they get pre-orders from churches. I think one has a standing order every Sunday for 3,000 donuts.
Oh, wow.
So they
Nice.
come and pick them up, all different flavors, and that's what they give out when they go to church. So yeah, I'm sure I'm going to get that with the hospital. With
or
some-
Chestnut Ridge?
This is one of the reasons why we picked where it's at, because it's pretty convenient. Got all that right there.
Yeah. Drop off a sample,
Oh, we
Like, here you
will.
go.
We will.
Okay, I also wanted to say, when you said, are you permitted to do it? We, I don't know if it's neither here nor there, but it is a franchise, but we happened to buy in when it was a license. So all of our locations are licenses, not franchises. So we actually gives us more leeway
To do what you want.
to do.
Right.
Cool.
As long as we stay within
'Cause-
standards. Like, we submitted the sign colors and font, and everything that was required. And we have to stay within certain guidelines for sure, but.
Because I
That's
think you're
true
missing.
limited, I would assume though, right?
I think you're missing, I don't want to say missing an opportunity, but like by closing at 6 p.m., if you just change to an order model, because, that's when people order donuts, is after, at night, once they need that sugar high whenever they're studying and
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
and nothing else is open, they're like, give me a dozen donuts. And if you're only open for orders only, that'd be kind of a neat model so they can just whenever pick it up.
Yeah, and I figure, one of the reasons it drove us here is the college town. I got endless supply of employees. I can work them 4 or 5 hour shifts. They got
Oh,
to
yeah.
study.
Right.
It's a unique area.
That's a good point. The employees too. Yeah. Good idea. Yeah, excited. I just know that sometimes, like, I'll be like, I'd like a donut. It's like
Yeah.
10 p.m.
Absolutely.
Where am I gonna get that donut?
Absolutely. That was her idea, not mine.
Yeah.
We have to get out of here at like 6 though, so we better hurry up.
Oh, yeah, that's right, 6:15.
Okay.
Yeah, we thought about it.
Well, I'd move to.
I think Mr. Yeager wanted to add on.
You gotta have the public hearing. I knew you were gonna.
Yeah, we do need to
You gotta have a
have.
public hearing.
Thanks, okay.
Yeah.
So thank you for your presentation. We may
you,
have
gentlemen.
additional questions for you, but at this point, we're going to open the public.
You need that back. Y'all want to?
No,
No, that's you.
Go ahead. We may ask for it again, though.
I'm gonna send it to you.
Sure. Well, yep.
All right, so anyone wishing to speak in support of or in opposition to this case, CON 24-171, now is your opportunity to do so. Seeing no one, close the public hearing. Go ahead, Mr.
Mr.
Yeager.
Chairman, yeah, after staff review, staff had no additions, corrections, or modifications to findings of fact as presented. And after review, staff recommends that the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the applicant's request to establish a restaurant fast food use at 2916 University Avenue with the conditions listed in your packet.
All right, thank you. Did you want to, you were about to make a motion, so go right ahead.
Yeah, accept the findings of fact.
Yeah, I'll move to accept the findings of fact as submitted.
I will second that.
So we have a motion to accept findings of fact for CON 24-171 with a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 We have accepted the findings of fact. And then, let's see, we do want to just reference the fact that there are 3 conditions referenced on pages 19 to 21 of the meeting packet. We don't really need to read those into the record, but there are 3 conditions. Does anyone have any other discussion, or does everyone I know we're comfortable with the findings of fact, but are we comfortable with the conditions?
Yes.
I am.
Do I have to do a motion to accept that, or we just say yes?
No, that's all right. But we do need a
Motion.
motion to grant the conditional use. So I move to grant the request for the conditional use for this case, CON 24-171, Robin and Laramie Zimmerman. Do we have a second?
That's with staff recommendations?
And with staff recommendations and the reference conditions on pages 19 and 20 of the meeting packet.
Seconded.
All right, so we have a motion by Benison, seconded by Misfelt, to grant the conditional use request for CON 24-171. How do we vote?
Aye.
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 So we have granted your request for conditional use variance for your project. Thank you for coming down this evening. Good luck. Thank you. It sounds like a good...
There's a meeting after this, city council meeting or something?
Yeah, there is. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for coming down this evening. Right, we have one other case this evening before we conclude. We have VAR 24-ABC, Joey McCumbers, 435 Dorsey Avenue, request by Mr. McCumbers for variance relief from section 1334.04 of the city's planning and zoning code regarding setbacks, City Tax District 9 in the First Ward, Tax Map 40, parcels 233 and 242 in the R1A1 Single Family Residential District. Mr. Yeager, or Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson.
Before I begin, can you hear us, Ms. McCumbers?
Ms. McCumbers, are you still there?
Yes, I am sorry.
That's all right, thank you.
So the applicant seeks to build a new single-family residence. The property outline is shown in the packet. The new building will be 1 story and encompass 982 square feet in area. That is the parcel. There's 2 pictures that was submitted by Joey and Carrie McCumbers that shows the site. On the left image, there is kind of a decline down in the hill. That is the front of the property. And on the right side of that image is the back side of the property with another hill going up to show a bit of their case and reasoning for getting setback variance. That is the site plan for the property. Proposed 30 feet back currently, and there is a side load garage as well as an additional kind of schematic that shows the layout of the house, the home. The back porch is not going to be included in this project, but it was submitted, so it's just been notated there that that will not be a part of the project for concerns for rear setback purposes.
It's not a concern?
Not a concern, because it will not be a part of the project, but it is on their kind of like generic cutout for when they do these for other properties, for example.
Right. Should we factor in the additional, do you know what they're proposing for the,
What do you mean? For the,
well,
Are you I guess is the back porch thing like a boilerplate thing, or that's an anticipated future?
That was just left over from the contractor design, and that will not be included in their home.
oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No, it's-
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, so it's on all of their documents,
Right.
but it's not actually going to be on anything.
Because it would extend outside the property line, is that, or is that the setback?
So please note the following conditions for R1A single-family residential districts in section 1335.04 of the city's planning and zoning code. I'll just read the parts relevant to it. For section 1335.04A and 2, reference in your packet. Based on the conditions listed above, the applicants request the following. Variance relief in the amount of 30 to 50 feet for the maximum front setback of the single-family residence. And that concludes my report.
What is the black line around the drawing? What is that dotted black line?
On page 3 of 5.
On page 3 of 5, correct.
There's a property line around it, and then if you're looking at the black kind of dotted line around the house, that is the kind of storm sewer line.
Gotcha. Okay, I couldn't
Yep.
figure that out. Thank you.
Do we have, we don't know the applicants online. It's Ms. McCumbers, right?
Yep.
Ms. McCumbers, would you like to speak to what you're proposing with regard to?
Yes, the only thing that we need is, we need the maximum front setback would put us too close to the bank.
Right,
The property is very large, it's irregularly shaped, so we're asking for a range. We're asking for relief of like 30 to 50 feet from the maximum front setback, which would put the house anywhere from 50 to 70 feet from the bank.
right.
That doesn't affect, because the property is so large, it doesn't affect the minimum side setback or the rear setback.
Right,
I mean, it's well within the side setbacks, it's well within the rear setback. I think at the shortest property line, it's like about 75 feet if we set the house back.
right.
We're limited on where we can set the house to the rear because of the bank. You know, I mean, we're basically setting the house on the flat portion of the property you can see from the pictures.
Right.
And we also want to line up the garage with the existing driveway.
Oh, there's an existing driveway too. Oh. Can you, go ahead.
Just as a point of reference, where that green dot is, and that's by accident, but that's almost exactly where they're looking to put the house.
The house, right.
And how it would be oriented towards Dorsey Avenue.
Does the hill keep climbing past that bank?
Yeah, so, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, it kind of plateaus in their area, kind of showing through the middle, and then it continues to rise again. So
Yeah.
it's kind of between
So
two.
it's steep, level, and then it's
Yep.
up above. I think it's a more gradual slope, but it still does
So-
slope up.
So my question is, I mean, I know it's additional cost, but they've not considered, just kind of cutting into that bank, creating a little retained section and building against, that section?
I don't know.
Probably
Yeah,
not
and
for
then-
square footage
Huh?
to go through all of that for. that
Just a
square
little
footage,
edge, yeah, it's easier to ask for a request.
Is there a
Yeah.
reason why we're requesting a range and why we don't have like a place,
you for that
like an
question.
actual set place for the footprint?
Right, can you speak to that? Why your rationale for asking for the range, the 30 to 50?
Because the property bends, the house is going to be set in the middle, the property bends. I was told that the setback would be at the corners of the house. I mean, that will center the house up with the driveway, but I don't know, I mean, I can't give you an exact, that it will exactly be, I can tell you it can be within this for the whole house.
Right, so you,
The property has bend to it. It's irregularly shaped.
To also interject a little bit, during a previous discussion that was brought up, and it'd be relatively difficult on them to get someone to measure exactly. So they're going with an estimate, from the steepness of the hill down, and the debris and brush caused issues for measuring. So they're going off their kind of best estimate between.
Without hiring a surveyor?
Yes.
And this isn't considered like a corner lot, right? Like they're not going to have an issue
No.
with, okay.
Nope.
because they're just lots arranged along
Yes.
Willie as it curves up the hill.
And if I may just add, we've been working with the Congress here for a while, and when they actually acquired this property, they went ahead because they know that they would be probably building across that property line. they already went ahead and put language into their deed. That per city code, it says that for zoning purposes, this will be considered one lot for setback requirements. So I just wanted to acknowledge that they already took that step ahead of time to try to address these issues, and we appreciate them doing that.
So they're using two lots
Correct.
combined. Okay, lovely. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay.
Can they combine the lots, or are there requirements, like minimum per?
You could either do a minor subdivision, and they elected to go ahead and put the language in the deed, so that they basically can't be sold off as individual pieces.
Individual lot, yeah, that's another one of my
Save some
concerns,
survey.
selling it
And
as
again, that's
individual.
we appreciate that. That's doing
Forward
work
thinking.
ahead of time.
Right. Well.
I mean, I would, well, I would want it surveyed personally, but I understand cost savings and stuff. I mean, depending on what everybody thinks, if having a range approval is okay.
So if I may interject, so Sailor State has looked at this, based on what they're asking for. One, they had to bring a final revised site plan before they could ever get a
Sure.
building permit. So as long as, once they get out there in the field and they actually said this is where my footers are gonna go, they would have to submit that plan, it'd be reviewed and approved before the building permits would be issued. If
Understood.
there was a setback issue, we'd come back. with
So in other
discussion.
words, if it turned out that their footer was, if we gave them their 30 to 50 foot range,
Yep.
and then it turned out that the footer was at 51 foot,
Yep.
that would trigger the need for follow-up.
Yes.
And so this is my inexperience here of not knowing, are we worried about being too close or too far?
The worry is that they're too far from their setback, front setback maximum.
Oh, I thought we were too close. Okay, so,
Because of the change in the grade from.
Because they want to be back from that, the
They wanna have
excessive
the front yard.
slope at the front of the lot.
gotcha. Understood.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, to me, this seems
Which I-
like a textbook example of a variance. They've got a lot.
Yeah.
They
And
can't build, they
it's not
can't
a
build,
self-created
comply with
problem.
because of the gradation.
It's topography.
And,
two
yeah, they
lots.
obviously didn't put the soil there.
Yeah.
And it would be very expensive to, level that out. And it's with the size of the house that's being built here, that doesn't seem cost effective.
Agreed.
And it's not as if there's no, I mean, maybe I'm going into too much detail, but like the subsurface there's no bedrock. It doesn't table out there to provide,
You have to drill it to know what's underneath.
Yeah, so not to our knowledge, maybe if she's more aware, but from on our end, I've not seen anything that says either way.
Just, there was a house on that property one time that was demolished.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Put this address in. Let's see it.
It is pretty steep there.
Yeah. What is, you said 389 Spruce Street? Oh, no, I see, oh, shit. What's the address for this?
This one.
435 Dorsey, thank you.
I don't have any other questions
Nah, I'm good.
for the applicant.
Thank you, Ms. McCummers. And then with regard to actually, I have another question. With regard to the topography and the slope, are you restricted with regard to like full base, and I don't know what your plan is, but full basement versus just a slab? Are you restricted with regard to the slope concerns?
There will not be a basement.
So just slab?
Yes.
Slab on grade.
Okay.
Yes, it'll be just it'll be a small single story with no basement. There's crawl space and there'll be a garage on the end.
Right, right. Thank you for the findings of fact on pages 69 and 70. That's very detailed. We appreciate that.
Do any of like the adjacent properties have variances from the setback requirement?
Or they just grandfathered in? Due to
I've not
age?
looked at all of them, but for the ones that I kind of looked at, it didn't look like there was any variance requested. They've probably just been there, was my assumption on it. A lot of the nearby properties do have similar setback distances, according to Mr. and Mrs. McCumber's research on their end, is that nearby properties are also irregular, and because of the slope,
Because of the slope.
they're also set back around the range of what they're expected.
Which, yeah, so, and because of that similarity across the properties, that's points to it's not a self-created. It is what it is. Right, so, well,
I'm good with it. This is part of old Morgantown area, like, this is,
right, so I make a motion to, oh, that's right, I'm sorry, thank you. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and open the public hearing for this case. And again, this is, let me just reference the specific case. VAR 24-ABC for Joey McCumbers, 435 Dorsey Avenue, opening the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in support of or in opposition to this case, now is your opportunity to do so. Seeing no one, close the public hearing. Mr. Yeager, any additional, or I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson, sorry.
Staff recommends that the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the applicant's request for variance relief given the location and topography of the subject site. If the Board of Zoning Appeals grants the applicant variance relief from Section 1335.04A, Part 2 of the city's Planning and Zoning Code, the new principal structure shall be subject to the following conditions that are in your packet.
Right. There are 3 conditions referenced on pages 64 and 65 of the meeting packet.
motion to accept the finding of fact?
So we have a motion to accept the findings of fact
Seconded.
for this case, seconded by Mr. Misfelt, sorry. How do we vote? Aye.
Aye.
We have accepted the findings of fact for case VAR 24-ABC. Do we have a motion to grant the variance request? I move to grant the variance request.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion to,
With staff recommendations?
yes, with staff recommendations and with the 3 conditions referenced in the packet. How do we vote?
Aye.
So, Ms. McCumbers, if you're still there, we have granted your variance request for your project. Please keep in mind that this, our decision can be appealed to the Circuit Court of Montague County, and any work that you undertake in the 30-day appeal period, you do at your sole financial risk. Thank you for attending virtually this evening. Good luck with your project. Thank you. Okay, do we have any announcements from staff?
Just to thank Sailor for his first time up.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
And
Again,
again,
welcome.
thank you for accommodating the special meeting. Much appreciated.
And I'm glad that we were able to
Again,
work it in during
appreciate it.
the available window.
So why was it a special meeting? What was the, like, why did that take place, that we squeezed this in and she could, like, just curious? Like, why was it a special meeting? Like, what took place that this,
Because where at both of these projects are in terms of their development.
they need to get going? Gotcha.
And advertising requirements.
That
to
makes
it.
sense. Well, it was nice of you.
Yes, very nice. Appreciate it.
So do we have any additional announcements? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I'll double and triple that.
We are so adjourned.
We are so adjourned.
Just wait a moment.